Welcome to Central News, I'm Amy Forrest. In today's news, a first for Tauranga will bring a new shopping experience when the new Sisters store is opened this Friday. The new Sisters all-in-one department style store will have the usual brands of clothing, but will also have a pamper room where women can sit and have their makeup, hair and eyelash extensions done. Sisters owner Riddell Payne says there will also be a built-in runway for fashion shows and a DJ booth. Kereru, or wood pigeon, are currently being counted and watched all over the country as the Kereru count takes place. The general public are being asked by Forest and Bird to look out for Kereru in their backyards and to go online and enter information on what they saw. Information required is where the birds were, how many, the time of day, what they were doing and, of course, what they were eating. The Kereru count runs until Monday, March the 4th. Labour Minister Simon Bridges has announced the minimum wage is to rise from $13.50 to $13.75. The training and new entrance minimum wages will increase from $10.80 to $11, which is 80% of the adult minimum wage. Mr Bridges says setting these wages rates represents a careful balance between protecting low-paid workers and ensuring jobs are not lost as the economic recovery gains pace. The new minimum wage rates will come into effect on the 1st of April. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, another fine day for you tomorrow with a few light winds. You have a high of 27 and a low of 12. And much the same for you, Tauranga, with the odd cloudy period, a high of 25 and a low of 15. Just ahead, educating potential politicians. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. A new governance qualification has officially been launched recently at the University of Waikato and is the nation's only postgraduate course aimed at upskilling the likes of company directors and government officials. Andrew and Margaret tell us of their roles within the course.
Within the course, I am the co-convener of one of the papers, which is the Capstone project, and I've been in part instrumental in ensuring that the academic rigour and the programme goes through the university process. So we've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's to ensure that we've covered off the elements that we want covered off within the programme.
And Margaret?
Well, in my role as chairman of the Institute of Directors in this region, my role will be working with Andrew in terms of ensuring that we've got the people attending the programme, having worked so hard to get the programme developed, and also working with Andrew in terms of assessing the Capstone project.
So Andrew, tell me, what does the new governance course entail?
It's a postgraduate certificate in governance, so technically there are 4 individual papers. The 4 papers are based around aspects which we believe directors or trustees should know. One is on financial and managerial accounting. The second is called governance in context, and it's to do with both ethical and legal issues. The third paper is leading strategically, and the 4th paper is a capstone project, which links those 3 papers back to the IOD's 4 pillars, which is their own text.
And Margaret, who would benefit from this qualification?
I think, Amy, it's probably easier to list who wouldn't benefit. As Andrew has said, it covers a wide range of anyone who's actually engaged in governance. So basically anybody who either wishes to be a governor or indeed has already got some experience and some war stories behind them. So basically it's open to everyone. The beauty of it is that, as Andrew said, it's over 9 months, but it actually covers the key elements of what is required to be a governor and understand how that framework works, and then also putting together that project which will be of value to the organisation for the individual, just in terms of what does governance mean for my organisation.
So what skills will they receive?
I like to break it down to skills, knowledge and abilities. So if we think in terms of the financial and managerial accounting, do directors or trustees have the ability to understand the balance sheet, what its implications are, financial reporting, what is reported, the way it's reported, or more importantly, what isn't reported, or it is reported in such a way as to totally confuse the board of directors. So it is understanding the ramifications of the balance sheet and of the operation as a whole. The legal and ethical issues, there are numerous acts of parliament which directors must be cognizant of, and ignorance of the law is no defence of the law, as court cases last year demonstrated. And it is the duty of the responsibility of directors and trustees to show fiduciary responsibility and provide a duty of care. It is not their advisors. So we try to pinpoint areas both ethically and legally that directors should be aware of, especially in terms of risk. That's the second paper. The third paper is that directors are in part responsible for charting the future course of organisations, and therefore they need to be aware strategically of where they want to place their organisation in the future. That requires certain skills and competencies, so the Leading Strategically course develops strategic leadership skills and models and templates for devising strategy. So that's the knowledge, skills and abilities. And they all come together within the Capstone project.
And where did the need come for such a course?
I think you've only got to look at newspapers and calls for the fact that where is the professional standing or status of being a director, and where at the moment there's actually nothing around the professionalisation of being a director. There is no requirement for training or development, so consequently one could say there's a gap in the marketplace, and we have looked at that gap and decided it needs to be filled for all the reasons that Andrew's described, particularly around the role of the board, about adding value and growing a business. This is all about growing New Zealand businesses, and therefore the answer is simple.
Now, you've just recently had the official launch of the qualification, so can you tell me who was present on this day?
Well, we had the Prime Minister attending, and I think that just underscores, first of all, the importance of the need for this qualification, and secondly, the fact that here in Waikato, we have developed the first ever postgraduate qualification in corporate governance, and certainly his speech underpinned the importance of bringing that professionalisation into the boardroom and the need for that across all the boardrooms of New Zealand. In addition to that, we had the Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Vice President of the Institute, local MPs, the Mayor, and basically a fantastic representation of the business communities within this region.
And when is the first intake of the course?
April the 1st, and that is a serious answer. It is April the 1st, it is, very much so. I think one of the most interesting components of the programme is the Capstone project, whereby there is a report that has to be completed on the organisation, or an organisation that the participants are involved in, and they use the Institute of Directors' 4 pillars as a text to reference what their organisation is doing against what is regarded as being best practice by the Institute of Directors. So the Institute of Directors have a very important role in this programme, and it is in fact a joint programme. The certificate will have both the University of Waikato crest on it and the Institute of director's crest, and I think that's a first in New Zealand.
Absolutely.
For more information on the course, visit www.waikato.ac.nz. Up next, treatment for a rare blood disease. Welcome back to Central News. Now, there has been a bit of media attention around a group of New Zealanders who are lobbying for Pharmac to fund a treatment for their rare blood disease. Last weekend, some of them took part in the 155-kilometre relay around Lake Taupo to raise awareness. Hilary spoke with Natalie.
Well, fortunately, I had to do one leg of the relay, so I was up for 7.5 Ks. Which was enough for me to take on. And it was in the heat of the day. I was running about 12:30 in the afternoon, so it was pretty hot anyway. But I had good support from my team, and I managed to get through. I was hoping for an hour, and I did it in 50 minutes, so I was pretty stoked with the time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
That's awesome. So how did it help raise awareness, do you think?
I think so, definitely. Well, obviously we wouldn't be here if we, hadn't have done it. And we've got something coming up in the Chronicle this week, I think. And my parents have had a couple of interviews, and so anything we can do, obviously, helps us out. So yeah, that's good. So
what is, here we go, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria?
Very good. Usually, PNH for short. It's a disease that my red blood cells are lacking a protein, and so when this particular protein is missing, it means that this red blood cells just burst when they want, and obviously become in your stream, and not necessarily in your bloodstream, but also other parts of your body where they really shouldn't be. So it becomes by default a waste product in your body that your body then has to get rid of.
So can you describe a day in the life of someone who has PNH?
There's different days. Obviously, I've had PNH now. I've been diagnosed with PNH now for sort of 6 or 7 years. But last year was the first year where it really hit me the worst, and where it did really affect my life, and I couldn't just go on as I try to normally every day to day. Really tired, fatigued, obviously. You sort of wake up in the morning and you feel like you've been hit by a bus and you've just woken up, so it's not, you don't bound out of bed like a normal 32-year-old should. It can be quite painful, especially when you're experiencing blood clots or different things like that. But to me, it is a normal day because that's what I've got used to. But I think if you were to compare it with a regular Kiwi 32-year-old, it is quite challenging in certain ways.
So the blood, you get clots as well?
You're more susceptible to blood clots with PNH. That's why, there's no medication available for us without this Solaris that we're trying to get funded. So the only medication I'm on for PNH is warfarin, which is a blood thinner that many New Zealanders are on. So I take warfarin every day just to suppress the likeliness of getting a blood clot.
Does that affect the PNH though?
No, it's not a treatment whatsoever. All it is helps me go through day to day without having. I used to get micro blood clots in my abdomen before I went on warfarin, and it was very painful. So that's the only treatment that I'm on for PNH at the moment.
So tell us about the current situation that you are trying to secure subsidy for treatment from Pharmac.
Well, we've sort of got together and sort of formed an association, which we really needed to do, obviously, because there's only 18 of us in New Zealand with this disease. It's quite hard to really get any go forward momentum because the numbers we're spread from Auckland to Dunedin, so it's quite hard to get some momentum going forward and really press on with it. We're just trying to bring to the New Zealand's attention, the government's attention. Obviously, Pharmac is who we're really aiming at, in the way that we really need funding for this medication, Solaris. There's 8 of us that need the medication now. Fortunately, I'm not one of them that needs it right now, but if I was to need it in 6 months' time, I prefer it was there as an option as to being not even an option.
Because it is life-saving, isn't it?
It is. That's what I mean. There's, well, like I say, without it, I'm not getting treated whatsoever. Luckily enough, I'm coping day to day, but if I was to get to the point where if I didn't have it, I was going to die. I'm already not stressed, but I'm already, apprehensive about the whole thing. And and I don't need it right now. But if I did need it right now, I'd be struggling. Yeah.
How much do they think that it will cost?
We're not really sure. The whole point of it is that we're trying to just get Pharmac to even have a discussion with the drug company to really talk about, negotiate what's going on, what can they do for us. From what I believe, it is a large number. But I mean, what do? You can't really put a number on well, I can't put a number on my life anyway. So it's definitely not something that, without the funding, we will be able to go forward with.
Because this disease is fatal to 1 in 3 patients within that first 5 years. You said you're currently in your sixth year of diagnosis. Do you find it hard to stay positive?
I don't really try. I suppose I've had health issues for the last sort of 10, 12 years, different things, which has ended as come to a head with this really. It's life as I know it. I don't really know any different, I suppose, because I've been dealing with this, like I say, for the last 6 years. I've been dealing with this PNH. I used to sort of not think about it too much because I sort of just could continue on as what I thought was normal. But last year, going through the year I did, I thought, hold on a minute, things are really could get worse, and they could get worse quite quickly. But you can't do anything about it. There's no point getting all strung up about it because it's not going to get us anywhere. We're not getting anywhere as it is at the moment. We're trying our best, so without being positive, it wouldn't help us at all. So.
Make sure you visit their website, pnhsanz.org.nz, to find out more information. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Well, it seems gone are the days where you can pop next door to borrow a cup of sugar. So this Neighbours Day, let's get a little bit of small talk underway. Daphne Bell tells us more.
Neighbours Day is happening all over the country, 23rd and 24th of March. It's come from overseas, but it's a very local initiative. So it's not about the big events or the mass crowds, it's about getting to know the people in your street.
So it's not just on a day?
It's 23rd and 24th. It's the weekend, so although we call it Neighbours Day, it's around then, and you can be flexible.
Now, who created this initiative and how did it come about?
Rebecca Harrington from Takapuna in Auckland heard about it from overseas and thought this would be a good idea for New Zealand. So she's been the guiding light, and that was in 2009. In 2011 it went national and will continue, and I think it will continue to grow and to flourish.
So the Neighbours Day website actually states that many people today recognise that they are isolated from their neighbours, but they are unsure of what to do about it. Why do you think this is, and why has it changed over the years?
I think if you look at the way we live these days, a lot of people are working longer hours, so they're much busier, and my sense is that they juggle a lot more, and they're taking the children here, there and everywhere. And maybe there's just more that they're fitting into their lives, so they're less likely maybe to have the time to walk along the street and say hello to their neighbours.
What benefits might it bring to those who do go and introduce themselves to their neighbour?
All sorts, I think. Always good to know who's around where you live, not just in case you need some help, but maybe you can offer some help, and unless you know them well enough to know what might be helpful, that won't happen. And I think the more we know the people around us, the stronger the community is, the better the feeling. Much more fun to go for a walk and say hello to people and stop for a chat than just to go and walk.
So what are some tips or even events that Hamiltonians could get up to over this weekend?
You can do whatever. Last year in south of Hamilton, a street got together and had a barbecue, but they also asked people to bring some dry goods, and they made a big package and took it to the food bank. So I really like that approach of having a good time, but also being generous. So it can be just a couple of neighbours or a bigger group, a cul-de-sac that blocks the road off. Maybe you have some music, maybe you have a game, just whatever strikes you as good fun to do. Having fun is always important.
Now, alongside Neighbours Day, the Waikato Times and Hamilton City Council have created a bit of a competition. So can you tell us a bit about Neighbour of the Year?
This is the Waikato Times, and it's very easy to nominate someone, and we'd like to hear from people. If you've got a good neighbour, do tell the Waikato Times. Nicola.Brennan, email nicola.brennan@waikatotimes.co.nz, or if you want to, just phone the Times and ask for the email and say what it is about your neighbour that you really cherish, and see if how you get on. And I think there'll be some good people nominated.
And is there any criteria?
There are, but it's just exactly what you think. What has the person done that you so value, and where does this fit with Neighbours Day?
How can we find out more information about Neighbours Day?
The web is a great thing, www.neighboursday.org.nz, and it's got a wealth of information, so there's ideas there for sharing, say, your surplus produce, or good time of the year for tomatoes, cucumbers, we're noticing. So there's lots of ideas, and you can also join up, so they will send you emails and updates. So that's a good way of keeping in touch with the generous people across the country.
And are there any safety benefits?
Yes, I think so. And one of the partners in Neighbours Day is neighbourhood support. And what happens, I think, with neighbourhood support is that they go up and down. So it's a really good opportunity to revive your neighbourhood support group. And this can be the excuse. So you knock on your neighbour's door and say, shall we gather and have a chat about that, and see what else comes out of it. And if you think of it, it makes sense that your neighbours maybe keep an eye out for you, and you keep an eye out for them. And if you're on holiday, you let your neighbours know. Maybe they collect your mail, feed your cats, all of this. And it's reciprocal. And I think that's a nice way to share what you're needing and what's happening in your life.
Well, that is news for today. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have any news, including your own video or photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. Hilary will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around our regions. I'm Amy Forrest. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.